Welcome back to the show. Oh my goodness, if we've got a great one lined up for you. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $2.48 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is up 1.5%. 64,900 plus for Bitcoin, 3,500 plus for Ethereum, 112 billion plus market cap for Tether, USDC at 32 billion plus. We're waiting for the real USD to come in. We'll see where it sits. 49 cents for XRP right now, up 1.9 on the 24, off by 1.2 on the 7-day. Range of price between 48 and 50 cents. We'll keep an eye on it. Let's get right into this. Lots to cover. Donald Trump again out on the trail. Listen to what he says here about crypto.
To further secure America's future and create opportunity for young people, I will end Joe Biden's war on crypto. We will ensure that the future of crypto and the future of Bitcoin will be made in America. Otherwise, other countries are going to have it.
And there you have it, not to mention the fact that the Biden administration is realizing they're losing the grip on the crypto war. Now, we went over this the other day about how Judy Shelton reminded us that if gold isn't as popular as it used to be, or if it's so worthless as some people like to say, especially in the maxi world of crypto, then why are so many other major governments and central banks holding so much of it? Well, with that being the case, let's understand this. I sat down with Jason Cousins just moments ago, and Jason Cousins is the CEO and founder of Glint. And Glint Pay allows you to use, buy, hold physical gold and be able to spend it just like regular money, because it is regular money, and you can spend it, and you can spend it through your MasterCard debit card anywhere that it's accepted. And this is a remarkable opportunity. But let's start here, because there's a lot of developments that have been happening with conversations in the United States. But take a look at this that's happening around the world with Glint Pay, because they're talking to central banks too that we're going through. Tell us about the recent contact that you've had from a central bank.
Well, Brad, you always get the squeezed out the news. I'm not quite ready to say it to everybody yet, but what I can say is that, last week even, we had a small, not the biggest central bank in the world, but central bank get in touch with us. They want to be able to bring transactional gold to their country to help protect against inflation and the risks, of course, that everybody else are worried about. So it's a very exciting development, hot off the press. And when I feel we're able to say who it is, well, of course, you'll be the first to know.
Well, we can't wait for that. Now let's get back to the conversation here domestically inside the United States, and listen to the work that's been done here. Jason told us at XRP Las Vegas 24 back in May that they're working and talking with over 20 different states that want to go back to gold and silver legal tender. It's a constitutional right to be able to do so. And Jason's going to break it down right now. Take a quick listen to this. Things are changing, ladies and gentlemen.
Constitution, Section 1, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 of the Constitution says that no state may make a currency. So they can't make Bitcoin a currency. They can't make any kind of cryptocurrency. They can't make their own currency. It says no state may make anything a currency except, and this is the killer, except gold and silver. It's in the Constitution. And of course, the founding fathers put this in place. This was not by accident. This was put in place with the times just like we're in now, where something needs to be put in balance. And of course, so legislators across the country are looking at, they're working on legislation. They've drafting legislation. Some have submitted legislation. Some legislation is being passed along the lines to do with transactional gold. We're talking, Texas have built their own gold depository ahead of all of this. Florida have made, I think, transactional gold is the sixth most important legislative priority for one of the parties down there. The same in Florida. I think it's the 10th. We've got Utah passed legislation to allow their state treasurer to be able to buy gold. I mean, it's crazy that the only entity in the whole of state that wasn't allowed to buy gold was the state itself. Businesses, people are allowed to, but the state wasn't. They've actually instructed the treasurer, we need to have some gold in our rainy day fund, and also instruct them to do a study on transactional gold, what it will mean to the economy and what the next steps should be. So, I mean, gosh, I think there's over 20 US states now that are working in this direction, and it's got bipartisan support because this is important for everybody. There's an economic justice angle to this. Those closest to the money supply, i.e. the government's most, then the banking system, then the richest in society, those closest to that money supply, those ones who are able to get access to this hose pipe of money that's pumped at them, often at very low interest rates historically. Certainly they can borrow just about any amount they can, and those people, the richer they are, the more they can borrow. Those people benefit disproportionately from those further away from the money supply creation. So the Democrats and the Republicans in a lot of states are working on this. In Kansas, you have a situation where the bill sponsor is a Republican, but the two co-sponsors are Democrats. It's wonderful to see people coming together to make this happen. So yeah, I mean, really exciting. And this is not, this is not some kind of fringe group of crazy gold bugs with tinfoil hats. In some of the committees in these meetings, there are former vice chairmen of the Federal Reserve. There are former CFOs or leaders of some of the biggest financial institutions in America on these committees.
Very big note. That's a very big note right there. So just to recap and level set before we move forward here, we know that there are massive changes happening. We know that there are states inside of the United States that are looking for solutions. We know the U.S. government is starting to acknowledge just how bad the problem is with the debt, the money printing, and how fast the debt is escalating. There is an irreversible moment heading towards us regardless of what's happening with the petrodollar. And we know that information is about to get cleared up here. We sit down and talk about an article here that was put out by James Rickards. We all know about Jim Rickards and his knowledge. Super knowledgeable. This is a part of the article that he put out here, and we're going to get into the article in a second. But what he says here about the petrodollar agreement, which I have said and made very clearly here, we have not had an official statement by Saudi Arabia or the United States of America directly, other than Representative Marjorie Greene that I have seen, House of Representative Marjorie Greene, has acknowledged that the Saudi Arabia has not decided to renew the petrodollar agreement as it is. Jim Rickards grabs the point and says the Saudis have notified the United States that they're not extending the deal. But that decision has to be put in context of other U.S.-Saudi discussions. He says U.S. and Saudi Arabia are currently in negotiations on a new financial and security arrangement that supersede the old petrodollar deal. The new agreement will provide Saudi Arabia will recognize Israel as part of the broader Abraham Accords initiated during the Trump administration, as well as allowing and protecting the Saudis. It will also help to expand, include uranium enrichment technology. Ostensibly, this technology would be used to fuel nuclear reactors, but might later be used to build nuclear weapons. Saudi Arabia wants to delve into nuclear technology because it feels it's threatened by Iran's own uranium enrichment capability. So, the old agreement is out, but a new agreement is being worked on. Now, we understand that new agreement also is including the use of other currencies. So as we've really talked about here on the channel, it's a moot point about the petrodollar agreement because the problems are still there. Whether they renew or come up with a new agreement or what have you, there's still a problem. And the problem is so big that when Saudi Arabia comes back with the new arrangement, they're going to be accepting other currencies as they're doing now. And that's what the new arrangement, I think, looks like, is to say that, okay, we won't not take US dollars, but we're just going to start taking other dollars. And that has already started to happen. So we're going to have to watch closer to see what really develops here. But I do want to go into the article just a little bit here to where, again, it says that things kind of won't change when it talks about how this is less than meets the eye and not much will be different in moving forward, because the countries, regardless of the saber rattling to drop the dollar, if you will, they're basically, what he's saying in this article is that nobody's doing a better job to eliminate the use and wanting to hold the US dollar globally than the Biden administration currently is. So what he's saying here is that although there's a new deal being struck out for the petrodollar agreement and everything to go along with it, that things are pretty much going to run status quo here. And that is what he's basically saying, and that it's not an immediate death blow to the dollar. However, he does go on to talk about the incremental steps of BRICS coalition and Russia announcing that they're developing this new global payment system completely independent of existing Western system, including SWIFT, Fedwire, and other clearing houses. And that's critical because payments through Western systems are subject to seizure, interdiction, and payments, whereas through independent systems should be safe from Western interference. And that's really the big play here. Like if you go all the way down to this, and we all know about the BRICS currency they want to develop, we know that they already have a payment system, but he says the latest Saudi action of not renewing the agreement won't destroy the dollar. The Biden administration seems to be determined to accomplish that all by itself. So the things that are happening right now are more detrimental coming from within inside our own borders and our administration than it is with the petrodollar agreement. Now, all that being said, it is still a very, very serious thing because of Project Sandman and the 130 countries that want to de-dollarize from the US dollar simultaneously. So what is it going to take to get everybody turned around? What is it going to take? Well, it's going to take having the same technology to offer the confidence to all of these different payment systems, because if BRICS is going to be its own standalone payment system, we have to have something that's standardized that will work to tie these payment systems in together, respecting their own privacy, right, and security. They just told you, Jim just told you about how, you know, the one of the catalysts to have BRICS create their own payment system is the concern that the United States will seize assets, as they're telling all of us they're going to do with Russia, right? So it's going to take a new payment system. That means that standardization is ISO 20022, and we know that Fedwire is something that BRICS will not have to use, but they're going to have to talk to one another. The world is doing business together, and they're going to have to talk to one another. And we know that Ripple was the first member on that distributed ledger technology for ISO 22, and I'm just showing you that if you haven't seen it or know about it. And this is MBridge EVM, and basically, let me just give you the gist of it here.
And that is very important.
This lady goes through and explains the BIS Innovation Summit that MBridge is decentralized network, like the XRP Ledger, open source to participant central banks. Ripple has a private ledger for central banks. Ethereum virtual machine compatible. The XRP Ledger is EVM compatible. ISO 2022 enabled. Ripple was the first member from distributed ledger technology to be on the ISO 20022 committee. Privacy preserving. It obviously is privacy preserving because they have a private ledger for all the central banks. Central banks deploy validator nodes, which is why Tiffany from back in the day, if you remember her, was always pounding the ground that we need more people to run nodes. No, you don't. You just need to find out once the central banks decide to tell everybody that they're all running nodes, and then everybody will want to run nodes, because that's really what we're waiting for now. This is a reminder right here at this.
Then you have a digital.
This mark right here, James Wallace is going to tell you it is not fact, or it is in fact a fact, that the XRP Ledger is one of the models of the MBridge.
You know, real, you know, or digital pound. You obviously need to have some way to interact cross border. Yeah. So I think the BIS call this a multi CBDC model. One of the ideas is you use a sort of a neutral bridge currency to go from one to the other, similar to the model I explained earlier, where with our on-demand liquidity. But the core offering really is not XRP. There's no XRP involved. It's the native token is the CBDC.
It makes so much sense. The best incentive is no incentive. The network is built to house the native tokens, which are stable coins and CBDCs for the world. You use XRP where applicable. You don't get forced to use it. And that sounds a lot like what I just showed you here from the BIS Innovation Summit. Again, it's one of the models of mBridge. Is it the model? That's what we're waiting to find out. And then when we see, well, what is it going to take for the banks to participate? Well, I'll tell you, Garanti's got it figured out. BBVA Bank launches digital asset wallet to transfer and store within the bank. And pretty soon, everybody will be getting digital wallets. Just you wait. Just you wait. And look, how about this? When you think about the reach of Ripple, think about this from James Wallace again.
Working with them on that technology and then also working with them on the policy, which is going to be a big element on the success factor. I'll take a pause there and let my fellow panelists say something.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, which central banks in which countries are you working on or working with?
We're working with many of them. You know, they're mostly under non-disclosure agreements, so I'm not at liberty to share the details. But I would say, you know, we are working with them in each continent apart from Antarctica. You know, the study by the Bank for International Settlements estimates, I think, 80 to 85% of central banks are doing some work. We're at different stages. I mean, we have some active projects, and then we have some.
And there you have it right there, ladies and gentlemen. And, you know, I don't know anybody that's poised in a better position to serve the world for where we're going than Ripple and the XRP Ledger. No question about it. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one.